What's going on, guys? Today we're back with another one, but this time we are on a Titan. And no, this isn't another OP melee build, I promise. This is way different than that. We are building around two things: the Edge of Action Titan class specific glaive and the Helm of Saint 14 armor exotic. If you didn't know, these two exotics synergize with each other already, as Starless Knight will allow you to keep the overshield given to you by the mini bubble our glaive will spawn. This also goes for your teammates as well. Simple, right? Well, not quite. If you haven't seen it yet, this glaive's trait reads, press F when your weapon energy is full to spawn a protective shield. And the perk on Saint 14, on top of letting you keep your overshield while passing through Ward of Dawn, your Ward of Dawn blinds enemies that enter it, and then guarding with Sentinel shield temporarily blinds nearby enemies. I wanted to take this even further when I saw how these two work together and come up with something that resembled our old bubble pre-nerf. Weapons of Light was lowered to 25% to be on par with Well of Radiance. It used to be 35%. Getting close to that 35% damage back wasn't too hard to come up with, given we get some of that on demand with Font of Might, and getting it to last just as long as our bubble is just as easy with elemental time dilation and stacking Font of Might, but I wasn't 100% certain this build was at its best just yet. After further testing, I remembered that Font of Might will stack with Well of Radiance as well, giving us a big boost to our damage. That doesn't include the perks on our weapons stacking on top of all of that. I tested out Vorpal here as I don't have a linear fusion with Focus Fury, which applies a 20% damage boost after hitting half the mag as precision damage. I felt that I was closer to my end result, but I knew I could make this stronger and more appealing to people who would think it's not worth the time or the effort. Now for the details on our build. I'll start with the subclass elements. We're running Bastion. Casting your barricade grants an overshield to yourself and nearby allies and empowers it, enabling it to slowly regenerate the overshield of allies bunkering behind it and extend their overshield duration. Then we have Offensive Bulwark. While you have an overshield or are inside Ward of Dawn, your grenade charges significantly faster, you have increased melee range and damage, and melee final blows extend the duration of your overshield. Then we're running Vortex Grenade and Shield Bash for our utility. Shield Bash for the instant overshield on a powered melee kill instead of just chunks with shield throw, allowing us to tank more damage. For our aspects, I'm running Echo of Provision. Damaging targets with grenades grants melee energy. Echo of Exchange. Melee final blows grant grenade energy. And for our last fragment, I'm using Echo of Remnants. Your lingering grenade effects have increased duration. Then on to our mods. I'm running both a Charged with Light build and an Elemental Well build. I have Elemental Ordnance, Font of Might, Enduring Wells for increased Elemental Well lifespan, Elemental Charge to gain Charged with Light when picking up an Elemental Well. You gain 2 charges if the Elemental Well matches your subclass. And finally, High Energy Fire, which allows me to deal more damage while charged with light. This build does take some minor setup. You'll have to hit 4 more targets with a ranged attack from Edge of Action in order to gain the energy needed to spawn the mini Ward of Dawn. This can be on a singular target such as a boss or a major enemy. Then you'll need to spawn that well with enough time to either pick it up or to have it long enough to deal the damage needed. That's why we have High Energy Fire. Not only does it stack with Font of Might, if our Font of Might boost were to run out, we still have our High Energy Fire stacks until we kill the same number of targets that we have as stacks. Which is why it's great for boss DPS outside of a Well of Radiance. Again, this is a solo-based build, so allies will not be here to buff us. That is our job. Now during the gameplay you see here, it's not too complicated of a setup. Drop your mini ward and get a kill with however you're spawning your elemental well. Pick it up, make your way into your bubble for the overshield, and proceed with damage. We went from 64,191 damage per crit to 144,430 damage per crit, giving us a huge 45% damage increase without the inclusion of Vorpal Weapon. Font of Might applies a 25% bonus to weapon damage, while Charged with Light only applies a 20% damage bonus. These together have always stacked, and as I see it, will stack for the foreseeable future. This mod build can even be used outside of this exotic setup to give you some awesome boss DPS outside of Well of Radiance or a bubble, as Charged with Light will not stack with other damage buffs. It's considered a radiant buff and will be cancelled out if the other buff applied is larger. However, Font of Might stacks with every buff, so go nuts. Sorry for the long-winded one today. Thought I'd take weekends off to make bigger and better builds and more high-quality videos for the start of the next week. The support and the impressions on the last few videos have been absolutely skyrocketing, and I figured it's about time I start taking this more seriously. I really appreciate all of you for the endless amount of support and the positive comments. I am new to this form of content, and seeing it do this well gives me hope that maybe I have a career in this. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please drop a like, subscribe if you haven't, and I'll see you in the next video.